gotta find out what happens next. Hi guys, this is Connie, and this is Connie Reads Max the Mighty. We are in Chapter 11, The Man with the Crutch. I figure they'll handcuff me for sure. My stomach kind of sinks into my shoes, and I'm just sitting there like a mental moron when Dip opens up the door and goes, "Hello, officers. What's the trouble?" One of the cops stays inside the cruiser. The other cop, a skinny dude with small dark eyes and a little mustache, gets out and saunters over. He's got his hand on his gun, and he's looking at the bus real careful. "Please step out of the vehicle," he calls up to Dip. Dip gives us a wink, and then he gets out of the bus. Meanwhile, Worm has got her nose in a book like nothing is happening, like the cops aren't there at all. "Be glad to oblige," Dip says to the cop. He's got his wallet chained to his pants, and he pulls it out and shows the cop his driver's license. The cop studies it for a long time, and then hands it back. "We had a report of a car being hijacked," the cop says. "Have you seen any suspicious activity at the rest stop?" Dip shakes his head and says, "No, sir. We had the place to ourselves." "Anyone else in the vehicle, sir?" Dip goes, "A couple of wild outlaws. Maybe you better lock 'em up." The cop takes him seriously and starts to pull out his gun real quick. Dip says, "Just my 2 grandchildren, officer. I was making a joke." The cop gives him a look like, "What are you trying to pull, buddy?" And then he relaxes a little and says, "Mind if I take a look?" Dip shrugs and goes, "Make yourself at home." The bus creaks as the cop comes inside. He stands there, blinking like he's got spots in front of his eyes, and then he sees me kind of slumped down on the couch. "What's your name?" he asks. My mouth is too dry to talk. "That's Mike," Dip says, coming up behind the cop. "He's a little, shy." "He a retard?" the cop asks. Right away, Dip says, "We don't use that word, officer." After that, the cop pretty much ignores Dip and me and crushes down so he's level with Worm. "And what's your name, girlie?" Worm won't look at him, and she won't say anything. Dip butts in. "That's Sally. Sally and Mike, keeping their old grandpa company until their mother meets us in Denver." The cop doesn't say anything. He just stands there and squints at me real hard, like he's seen me before. I give him a goofy look, and I let a little drool run down the side of my mouth, like I really am retarded. Finally, the cop grunts to himself and turns away. "We're recommending that vehicles park within sight of the highway," the cop says to Dip. "These isolated rest spots can be dangerous." "Yes, sir," Dip says. "Have a nice day, sir." The skinny cop gets back in the cruiser, and it glides away with the lights still flashing. Dip waits until it gets back on the highway, and then he turns to me. "I figured it was nobody's business what your real names are," he says. "Thanks." Dip grins. "You better wipe the drool off your chin, Max. You're pretty good at playing dumb, huh?" "I've had some practice," I say. And that's no lie. We're about to get back on the highway when Worm goes, "Somebody's hiding in the woods." Dip puts the brakes on and goes, "What?" "Right over there," Worm says, pointing out the window. All I see are bushes and thick pine trees. Then I notice the branches moving, like there's something there, or in there, that wants to jump out. Probably the wind. "It's nothing," I tell Worm. "Just your imagination." Worm makes a face and goes, "No way! I saw something!" I'm still thinking her brain is in her book when all of a sudden the bushes open up and out comes this guy leaning on a crutch. Not a real crutch, but part of a tree branch she's using to hobble along. He's got thick yellow hair that grows down almost to his eyebrows and watery blue eyes, and he looks kind of oily, like he needs a shower. Right behind him is this scrawny but pretty looking woman with eyes that kind of bulge out like she's always surprised. Her face is a little scratched up, and she's wearing a flowered dress that must have gotten dirty when she fell down. She looks scared, like she's afraid something else is going to jump out of the bushes any minute. Dip sets the brake and gets out of the bus and rushes over to help the guy on the homemade crutch. "Max," he shouts back, "give me a hand." "You stay here," I say to Worm, but but she's already back in her book and pretends not to hear me. When the woman sees me get out of the bus, she kind of cringes, like she's afraid I'll hit her or something. Don't you worry, miss, Dip says. The boy is a gentle giant. The guy with the crutch is hanging on to Dip for dear life. Is it broken? Dip asks. Don't think so, the man with the crutch said. Just hurts like heck. That's when I notice the woman in the flower dress is crying. Her eyes are all dark and circled like a raccoon's, and her little nose is twitching. Frank is in so much pain, she says. He tried to stop them. Stop who? Dip asks. The men who robbed us, the woman says. She's got this high, quick-talking voice, like somebody is pulling a string and making the words rush out. They took everything and they beat up my husband. Frank goes, I'll be okay. And then his crutch slips and he groans. We help him into the bus and they collapse on the couch. Dip gets an aspirin from the first aid kit and gives it to Frank with a glass of water. Thanks, buddy, Frank says. Sorry to trouble you. No trouble, Dip says. What happened? What happened is Frank and his wife, Joni, were on their way to the West Coast because Frank had been offered this extremely important job raising money for a hospital. And they got sleepy and decided to pull in and rest until daylight. Only when they were sound asleep, these three guys in ski masks ripped open the doors and yanked them out of their car and stole it. All the money they'd saved up. We're broke, Frank says with a shrug. They took everything. Joanne sticks out her chin and goes, We'll have to start over. It won't be the first time. We'll find a place to settle. I'll get a job. Worm puts away her book and stares at Joni for a while like she wants to figure her out, but she can't quite do it. The cops were here, Worm finally says to her, looking for you. Joni pulls back like somebody slapped her. Looking for me? What are you talking about? Dip explains how the police were just here a few minutes ago investigating a reported carjacking. No kidding, Joni says. The cops were here? Frank looks uncomfortable. There's a payphone right over there, Dip says, pointing to it. I'll call 911. You can file a report. He's digging into his pocket for a quarter when Joni grabs a hold of his arm. Please, she begs him, don't. Frank, he lays back on the couch and smiles to himself. I'm tired of lying, he says. These are good folks. We can tell them what really happened. Frank! Joni sounds frightened. I don't care, he says. Let them turn me in if they want to. Dip goes, What are you saying? It's all my fault, Frank says real quick. You see, the truth is, I'm a wanted man. And that's the end of chapter 12. Again, these just get better and better every time. I'll see you next time for Connie Reads Max the Mighty. Bye.